That's what I want to ask you about is we always talk about all of the stuff outside. We know all of the facts as the public, but members of the jury don't get to hear everything that each side wants to put into a court case. And so before any civil or criminal case, there are motions as to what evidence can we introduce, what can we and can't we, and the judge makes a decision. In this case, I think it's interesting that one of the key things the government or the judge said, Judge Adelman said, we're not going to hear any of this, was no arguments about immigration policy. We're talking all about the policies that set the stage for this, and the judge said, we're not going to talk about that. This case is not about immigration policy. Can you talk about how that is key to this case?
Yeah, and quite honestly, I agree with that decision as well, because this is a trial about specifically what happened back on April 18th of last year and whether Judge Dugan is guilty of the two crimes that she's accused of. And while all of these other things are relevant, I think, when you're looking at the case from a whole, really what the jurors are called upon to do is determine whether Judge Dugan committed a crime. And what they have to do is they have to look at the facts of the particular case as presented by both the prosecution and the defense to determine whether she actually acted in a criminal way. Now, we're trying to do that in a way, or the system is trying to do that in a way, so that the jury isn't tainted or prejudiced by these outside forces, by outside considerations. For instance, one of the things that the rules of evidence carefully guards against is the admission of what we call character evidence against a defendant. The prosecution is not allowed to just suddenly bring in a bunch of facts and different situations where the defendant may have done some stupid things in the past or illegal things. And likewise, the defense isn't allowed to just bring in all these great things about how the defendant might be a good person, because character, while it's relevant in terms of sentencing, isn't relevant in terms of whether someone did the facts that they're accused of doing, did the crime that they're accused of doing. So I think it was a good decision by Judge Adelman to help the jury focus on the facts of the case and kind of get rid of some of the noise.
So while politics, or at least the policy part, is off limits, the state had asked that some other things be kept off limits, including previous ICE actions at the courthouse. The judge said, no, that's going to be able to, the defense is going to be able to argue that because it's relevant to Judge Dugan's mental state at the time. What does that mean? Why is that important?
Yeah, I think that can go into what the confusion that existed at the time, and the fact that there were previous arrests, that this whole situation didn't happen in a vacuum per se, and that there was confusion. There perhaps wasn't a clear lack of guidance as to how judges should respond to this. There was confusion about the terminology. There was confusion about the strength and of this particular warrants. So I think that is, again, trying to give jurors information or facts that they need in order to come to a decision about the case. But those particular set of facts regarding the fact that ICE arrests had occurred in the courthouse before, I think is relevant to Judge Dugan's state of mind and what was going through her mind at the time this incident occurred, which is one of the key issues in the case.
Julius, we want to get to those opening statements and what you heard or maybe didn't hear that you were expecting from both sides. But first, to kind of set the stage, I brought this up earlier. I'm fascinated by the makeup of the attorney teams on both sides here, because you have the lead defender for Hannah Dugan is a former U.S. attorney for the Eastern District, so quite familiar with that other side of things for the government. And in fact, Stephen Biskupik appointed the three prosecutors who are kind of leading things for the government in this trial, including Richard Froling, who is the lead attorney for the government, the U.S. Attorney Keith Alexander, who gave the opening statement as well. So what is that dynamic like, from what you know of all these people involved here, that basically the person you came up with and learned from to some degree is now going against you in this high-profile trial?
Yeah, Carl, you've done your homework here, because all the information you just thrown out is kind of inside baseball type stuff. Those who know kind of the dynamics that are going on right now. And in terms of this type of case, it didn't surprise me at all that Steve Biskupik is the lead defense attorney in the case. He's the perfect guy. When it comes to all things federal, especially something of this magnitude, he certainly has the experience and knowledge and knows the inner workings of the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District. He was the U.S. Attorney for crying out loud. The fact that he's going against people that he appointed in the past, I think that makes for an interesting dynamic. All the attorneys that are involved in this case, both from the prosecution and the defense, are very, very good attorneys, experienced attorneys. They know what they're doing. And I think that what we're going to see, though, is just a lot of good lawyering going on. You're not going to see people, throwing mud at each other and trying to pull fast ones on each other, because all these people know each other and they respect each other. And so I think that is really, that's not going to really impact the case in any way, except that I think things will probably run a little more smoothly because all these people know each other and they respect each other.